I think the greatest lesson I've learned is that no one is you and that is your power.
Helen Ochoa is one of the boldest voices reshaping the regional Mexican genre. With powerhouse vocals and undeniable charisma, she's fearlessly carving out space in a world long dominated by men. Blending traditional banda and norteño sounds with a modern, rebellious spirit, Helen isn't just making music, she's leading a movement. Through her unapologetic presence and commitment to lifting up other women, she's breaking barriers and rewriting the rules for what it means to be a woman in the regional Mexican genre.
This is a dog-eat-dog business, but it shouldn't be like that in terms of the musical part. And sometimes we can do that to ourselves because unfortunately we live with this narrative of how things have to be, but they don't have to be anything but what you want them to be. It's not just about doing something that you love, it's about doing something that makes others feel something, that makes others feel the love that you put into that song. At least, I'm putting out there what I personally want to put out there. And I think that's priceless.
This is Andro Mammo. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Today, I have the honor of going one-on-one with regional Mexican singer and songwriter, Helen Ochoa. Let's start off from the beginning. So, Helen, you're obviously a very talented singer. And early on, who were some of the artists and the sounds that helped shape who you are today?
I think one of the most obvious ones is Selena. Everybody, I think that's a regional Mexican singer.
Yeah.
All of us have idolized Selena, idolized her voice, her style, her, just, I guess, like her charm, her charisma. And I think above all, just how much she made people feel something. I think I was easily 8 years old the very first time that I got on a stage, and it was at my sister's quinceañera. They had a live banda at that event, and it was crazy because my parents didn't have the budget that they now have, but back then we had their wedding, like they got married, and then my sister had her quince, and I had my first communion
all in one
in the same party. And now that I think back, I'm like, we kind of snubbed my sister of that moment, but then she snubbed my parents of their moment, and then I kind of was like extra on the other end.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's how it was back then, And so they got this group, and I went up to one of the directors of the group, and I said, hey, I want to sing with you guys. And they were like, oh, you're so cute. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Because I'd previously asked my dad, and he's like, absolutely not. You go play with your cousins.
Yeah.
So I tell him, I want to sing. So I did. I got up on stage, I grabbed the mic, and I just started singing. And then after some time, I was like, dude, I really like this. Yeah. I really like this feeling. Like people are paying attention to what I have to say on this mic.
It's like you were hooked.
Absolutely. Immediately I was hooked. I was like, this is what I like. So after that, I looked down the hall, and my dad was looking at me with this, how dare you face? You disobeyed me. But then when I went up to him, he gave me a hug, and he's like, okay, I get it. All right, fine. He bought me a karaoke machine. So I immediately started practicing every single day. I would literally rehearse 2 hours every single day. I'd come home from school, and I try to even finish my homework at school so that I can come home and immediately start rehearsing.
That's passion.
Yeah, I was hooked. Yeah. I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. And he bought me the karaoke versions of Rocío Dúrcal, Juan Gabriel, Vicente Fernández, and Selena. At some point, he got me Selena, and I was like, yay, I could sing Selena songs, And I think immediately she was one of my biggest influences, and I think she's the one that kind of got me into wanting to mold my voice to be able to have, I guess, kind of the style that she had, at least vocally. I loved how she did runs. I loved how she belted, but then she'd do these soft notes. I'm like, how does she do that? I had no idea, I was a kid. But I think in terms of actual style per se, once when I was really little, I don't remember my age. I had to be 4 or 5 years old. My mom and I were watching a show. Oh my God, it's even embarrassing to say because it's such an old show. It's Siempre en Domingo.
Okay.
So we're watching this show, and Rocío Dúrcal is singing, and she was singing Amor Eterno, and she was crying while she was singing, and she just had her hand out, and she's just singing this really sad song. And I told my mom, why is she crying? And my mom said, hi, mija, she's singing with emotion. Está cantando con sentimiento. And I'm like, ¿qué es eso? Cantar con sentimiento. And she's like, one day you'll understand. And so I was singing a Selena song after she'd passed. I was practicing one of the karaoke versions that my dad got me. And I was singing No Me Queda Más, which was one of her biggest hits. She looked beautiful. Yeah. And then I felt sad. I felt sad because I lost Selena. I felt like everybody felt like they lost Selena.
Yeah.
Because, you had her on this like pedestal. Like she was my idol. She was every little girl's idol. And I cried a little and I was like, oh my God, I did it. I'm singing with sentimiento. Like, this is what it feels like.
Would you say that the passing of Selena was your first heartbreak?
It was absolutely my first heartbreak. And I remember I had told my mom, we should go, Mommy. We should go to her funeral. Like, I had no clue. I was this little kid. My mom was like, no, mija, we can't go. Like, that's
in Texas.
Yeah, that's in Texas. Like, no, like we can't just show up to that. Like, there's protocols to this thing. I'm like, but why? Like, I want to go see her. A lot of people are going to go see her. But I was distraught. For me, she was everything. She was, in the moment, I think what all of us aspired to be, and now I'm looking at, all of the things that, other women have accomplished in this genre. And I remember seeing an interview recently, actually. I'd seen it a few years back as well, but most recently, I watched it again. She was on the Cristina show, and Selena was talking about how difficult it is for women in her genre.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy that it's 2024.
And we're still living.
We're still going through that. We're still going through that. It's insane to me. But, I feel like at the end of the day, that's never, thank God, it's never discouraged me or never made me feel, I guess, like I'm done. Like, I think at some point I did feel like, man, fuck the industry.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm tired of this. And like, me and Chiquis have talked about this so many times. It's like, it's really repulsing that unfortunately we have to prove ourselves. We have to prove that our album is worth it. Our single is worth it. We should be on that.
It's like
playlist.
You're constantly having to do that. And that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad that you brought this up just because I feel like there's a lot of people that may look at you and they may look at the other women in this genre and they may say, oh my gosh, like, look what she's doing. And, but the truth is, like, the reality is it's very difficult to be a woman in that industry and in that genre.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know from your perspective, like, what are some of the realities of being a woman in the regional Mexican genre?
I feel like one of the biggest ones is the fact that no matter what you wear, you're going to be sexualized. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, there's always going to be somebody that thinks that you did something extracurricular to get to where you're at. There's always going to be someone that doesn't bet on you because unfortunately you're not going to sell. Like, they already have that preconceived notion that you're not going to sell because you're a female.
And they'll do everything that they can to ensure that you don't sell because you're a female.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's happened to me. I know it's happened to a plethora of women that are in the same genre.
Yeah.
And I know it happens in other genres too, but I can only speak from regional Mexican. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to deal with the fact that, even though we put our heart and soul into this song and we paid extra so that this song sounds crisp, so that this song has the exposure that it should have, unfortunately, we'll still not get placed on a cover art of a playlist.
And that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, another thing that I realized too is that 2016, you dropped your debut album, Si Yo Fuera un Chico. And I was curious because I think when you initially entered the scene with that album and that song, that's powerful. You're making a statement. And I was just curious, like, going into that, were you kind of aware of the realities of being a woman in that genre? And you were like, you know what? Fuck all that. This is what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
And that's why you made that decision to debut that album and that song. In that way.
All of it is 100% true. It was a metaphor, but it was also a big reality. Like, it was kind of insane. Like, and I feel like that song kind of just fell on my hand, like, and the ring just perfectly fit because unfortunately that's especially a time where it was so hard for women. And mind you, during this time, Jenny's passing was in 2012, end of 2012. So all of 2013, unfortunately, a lot of the radio stations, but a lot of the people even were kind of like looking at women and being skeptical of, are you trying to replace her? And no, I'm not. Like, I know we're not. Like, we couldn't if we wanted to. At the end of the day, she held a really special place and still actually holds that special place.
And it sucks that people come to like conclusions where they say, you know what, you're trying to imitate her, where it's kind of like, why can't I pave my own path while also honoring her?
Yeah. It actually still happens now. Like I posted a video of me singing Código de Morras at the Auditorio Nacional.
Which is so huge.
Yeah, it was awesome. This was one of the best days of my life. Thank you so much, Chiquis. Because I was like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I posted a video of it to TikTok and actually a few people had told me, you want to be Jenny so bad. I'm like, not even close. Not even close. And I couldn't even if I tried.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I'm not trying. Like, I'm just Helen. Like, I can only be Helen, guys. And like, and at the end of the day, it's at one point it was like, this is insane. But I get it. I think so many of the fans were so heartbroken from that loss. And I can relate because it happened to me, when I lost Selena. And it actually happened to me when I lost Jenny too, because she was also one of my idols. That day, my husband and I didn't shower. We didn't even brush our teeth. We just sat and watched the TV and just like completely distraught, like just trying to figure out what the heck is happening.
I remember where I was at the exact time that I remember like finding out about the news.
Absolutely. And it was insane. And
it's like the world stopped.
Yeah. For us, at least in our home, we did nothing all day. We literally just sat there and couldn't believe that this was a reality. And crazy enough, now I think back and I feel like it just made it tougher and tougher. Somebody had asked me a few years back, hey, I have a question. I'm talking like, this was like at least like 7 years back. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Jenny's passing made it easier or harder for women in the industry? I said, honestly, I think it made it harder. Mm-hmm. It absolutely did. Yeah. I think when she was here, she was proof that women could do it, and she still is, obviously. But what I'm saying is, like, in that moment, it was like, yes, like she paved such a beautiful way for everybody. But then at some point, the industry shut that thing down. Mm-hmm. And it was like, no, like there can only be one. And Chiquis and I have spoken about this so many times. Like, why does there have to only be one female in the genre? Like, you can be an individual all on your own and you're not trying to steal anybody's shine or you're not trying to fill anybody's shoes and you're just trying to, you're just trying to wear your own.
Yeah, that was something that I'm curious from your perspective. Mm-hmm. Like, why do you feel that the gatekeepers try to turn the women in this genre against each other? Like, why can't they all win?
I think it's because, and I was told this directly by a few of them, there's only one spot for a female. Jenny held one spot. Now that she's not here, there's only one spot, and you had to fill it. This girl's your enemy. That girl's your enemy. This one's jealous of you. This one can't be friends with you. It was like that. It was very much like that. And even if I wanted to be friends with some of these girls, I couldn't. Because I had people around me who unfortunately didn't believe in that. They believe that everybody out there is out to get you and everybody out there is out to compete with you.
Which is so wild, too.
It's absolutely wild.
It's a crazy way of like approaching life.
It's the most narcissistic thing I've ever heard in my freaking life. But, it was a reality for them, or I guess in their like mindset back then, and slowly I think every bit of us, every one of us kind of felt like, okay, like maybe they're right. It's kind of rammed in your head constantly. Mm-hmm. And I think at some point we all kind of was like, okay, we all collectively woke up and smelled the fucking roses and understood. Like, I think it's a lot easier if, we unite instead of just, having this like false narrative. Because that's what it was. It was a wholly false narrative that we were following because it was instilled in our damn brain that that's how it had to be.
Yeah, and I think something that I'm so happy that you guys did, but you, Chiquis, and Ellie, with Las Destrampadas.
Yes.
Like, that's 3 powerful women in this industry coming together and showing people, like, you know what, we could do this together. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it was so important to do that?
I think it was just, okay, first, it was the first time, you know, 3 women had got together to do something like that in Banda. But then not just that, it was important because I think the invitation was so pure to do it. Like, I remember I was on the road with my husband, and Chiquis had actually texted me and was like, hey, I have a proposition for you. I have this song. I was initially going to record it with 2 other girls. It didn't work out, but I think it could work out with you. You know, I'm going to send it to you. I heard the song. I was immediately hooked. I'm like, yes, I love it. Son mis meros moles. This is exactly.
It's a great song.
Yeah, I was like, this is exactly who I am. Like, this is, it's perfect. And then she tells me, she's like, hey, I was hanging out with Eli Quintero at Tengo Talento because she was a judge, you know, and she's like, she's really cool. What do you think about her? Like, I'm like, that is one of my best friends since like 2010.
That's so cool.
Like, Eli is my like family.
Yeah.
Like, I go, and honestly, she is perfect for this song. So she's like, okay, you think she'll want to do it? I'm like, I absolutely know Eli will want to do it. So it's like, okay, I'm going to create a group with the 3 of us. I'm like, perfect. So she did. Hey, Eli, I already proposed it to Helen. She said, yes, I would love for you to be on board. She's like, heck yes, I'm on board. Let me know what we got to do. So our schedules didn't coincide. So everybody kind of recorded separately. I recorded, I don't remember if it was Guadalajara or LA. I think it was LA. And then Chiquis recorded here. And then Eli recorded in Culiacan. They brought all the voices together. And honestly, once we heard the finished version, we were like, this is it. This is super fun. What's crazy, and I think I mentioned it only a couple of times, but when we filmed the music video for that song, Chiqui's manager comes to me and Eli and he says, hey, I need you guys to sign the releases for your voice and your image for the video. I was like, okay, perfect. So we did. And he's like, and Chiquis threw in a little surprise for you guys. I'm like, oh yeah? He's like, yeah. He's like, she wants to split the royalties evenly between the 3. I'm like, what?
Give me chills.
It was insane. I've never heard of that. That has never happened. And it's crazy because he was like, you know, this is something that, you know, I was like, but we're not like, we didn't contribute to the song. We're not songwriters. Like we you know, we have nothing to do with the song, but our voice, you know, all we brought was our talent. And he's like, that's a big thing to bring. He's like, and this is something she wanted to gift you guys. And I think that's one of the first times I thought, okay, there is humanity in the industry after all. Like,
and I think statement, like, think about that. Not only the song, breaking barriers with that, but also what she did behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Like, that's a huge thing.
Absolutely. And I'd never experienced something so selfless like that in the music world that I think I was like, okay, this is exactly like who, you know, I like the footsteps I need to follow. This is an example of what this industry should be, you know? And so for me, I think that kind of changed my perspective a lot on so many things, not just in that part. And it's not the fact that the royalties were split. It's the fact that it was like, hey, I appreciate you.
She didn't have to do that.
She didn't have to do that at all.
Yeah, that's huge. Did you see, after you guys released the song, the impact that had in this genre?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. I think that's when a lot of the digital platforms turned and said, okay, like we were on a lot of playlist covers. People to this day, like I get tagged on TikTok still, people using the song while they're partying with their girlfriends or they're just, you know, together with family. And like, for me, I think that's the biggest reward of all, that people enjoy the song, because that's why we did it. And we had the biggest,
it's such a good song too.
Yeah,
like
we had a blast doing it. So it didn't feel like work. And I think that's the beauty. That's the beauty of music. It's not supposed to feel like work. It's not supposed to feel, you know, stressful. And I mean, you can have the normal stress of like things here and there, detallitos, lo que tú quieras, but it's not supposed to feel like, oh my God, it has to be perfect. And, you know, for so many years, that's how it was for me. It was stressful.
And the fact that it was a passion, when it becomes to start to feel like a job, that's when you know it's something's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you know, like early on, obviously you learned a lot from the early experiences of your career and the first label that you were with. But when you kind of like look back at that time of your life of like 2016 and how you were releasing music at that time, in contrast to how you're releasing music now, you're in just a completely different headspace.
Absolutely.
What's the approach like?
Now I do what I want to do and what my heart tells me. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do what's true to you, and your ideas are not dumb. They're not little. They're not, not for this time space, which is a lot of the things that I think I was constantly kind of, hearing. And now I'm honestly, I don't think I've ever really told myself, I'm so proud of you until this past year. I did a song called Código de Morras. And I'm not going to lie to you, I had a lot of anxiety writing it. I had the biggest anxiety recording it. And then I had the worst anxiety of my life posting it, like actually releasing it.
Yeah.
Because it was about an honest experience that happened to me, because it had to do with another female singer who was one of my best friends. And then, stuff happens. They did something terrible to me. And, I could have either drowned in my sorrows, which for a time I kind of did, or I was like, man, I'm gonna capitalize off of this.
Yeah.
Because it's what really happens to everybody, except, in this case, it's people that sing, but it happens. These things happen. So I think even though I had anxiety, even though I was nervous, even though I had all of these doubts in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to not release this song.
Yeah. I mean, that leads me to, I have two questions based off that answer.
Yeah.
So the first question is, you said you were faced with like anxiety in the production of this and prior to the release and after, like, how did you overcome that? Just because I know there are a lot of people that may be in those shoes where, they want to release music, but that fear kind of stops them. How did you overcome?
The fear fueled me. I think the fact that I was so scared kind of made me feel like, because I'm scared, I should do it. And if I'm scared, I have to do it with fear in my heart. Even if it's scary, even if this can backfire, I'm never going to know if it's going to work if I don't try. So once I did, immediately I started seeing people using the audio on TikTok, making their own TikToks with it, telling me, hey, Helen, my best friend of 17 years betrayed me, and this happened. Hey, my sister betrayed me. Oh my God, I went through betrayal last week. I just had a fallout with my best friend of this many years. And I'm like, man, we all have gone through this. We all have a story that we wish never happened, but sometimes it does, And so I was like, this is exactly what happened with Si Yo Fuera un Chico, which is the route I wanted to take originally. But it was hard. I couldn't take that route completely because my route was like detoured to, hey, no, not this.
Yeah.
This is cool, but you can't do this all the time. You have to now do this because this is what's popular.
And when you feel stifled creatively like that, where they're saying, you know what, you should take this route instead of the route that you feel that you should take. I mean, as a creative person, I know how stressful and how just a horrible feeling that is.
Yeah.
Did that make you second guess yourself as an artist?
All the time. All the time. It made me feel like, sometimes kind of like a puppet.
Yeah, right.
Like
you're inauthentic. Like you're not doing what you should be doing.
Absolutely.
You're doing something that other people should be doing.
Absolutely. Or something that is.
It's not authentic to you.
Yeah, it's not true to me. So I think for some time I didn't have creative rights. I think that's the part that, and even if I did bring up something really creative, something really cool, it was always chopped, diced, and minced up and turned into something else.
Yeah.
And so that for me, I think was the biggest letdown and the biggest setback personally and musically.
It's debilitating. It makes you feel like what you're creating isn't enough.
Exactly. And I think at some point I was like, what am I freaking doing? This isn't who I am. But I think I wanted to make other people happy. even though it meant deep down, I was unhappy. So I think I learned from that mistake almost immediately once I went independent, and it was so hard. It was so hard to get a label going, to get a distributor going. It was so difficult, especially in that time. This was the summer of 2018. We had no clue. My husband and I, we had no money. We had nothing. And slowly but surely, we kind of started to build ourselves. And now, I mean, there's still a lot that I want to accomplish. There's still so much that I want to do, but I think it's crazy how God can really turn your life around when you just listen. Because
Glory to God.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's crazy because I would ask him for so many things that I was never open ears and listening to whatever it is that he was telling me. I think because I was so fixated and stuck on what I wanted. And it's like, okay, well, this is what I want, but maybe God has something better. Like maybe I want one rose and God has 12, you know, and I am like holding on to these thorns, and it's like, no, chiquita, this red one's not it. It's these white ones. Like,
and I feel like the funny thing is sometimes about God is God will say, you know what? I'm going to put you through something, but where you're going to go is going to be even greater than this.
Absolutely.
And it's about trusting the process. And I mean, trusting the process, like, truthfully, I think what you and JP did, like taking the chance to start the label. And, you know, like, truthfully, there are so many people that would want to be in that position of being signed. But it also comes with the bullshit.
It does. It's so much bullshit. Oh, my God.
But it's unfortunate because there are so many artists that will just put up with the bullshit because they feel like this is their only path to getting to where they feel like they need to be.
You know what's nuts, honey? It's 2024. And I see that every day.
Yeah.
I see it every single day. It irks me. It reminds me, of who I used to be. And
I could say the same about me though, too.
But don't you look back and you're like, I'm so glad I grew out of that phase. And you so desperately want to save somebody else, but then you remember that's their path. That's the path they have to take. The way God taught you, he has to teach them too.
Exactly.
You know, and all he can do is teach.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we also have to pick up the pencil and pad, and we have to be willing to learn. You know, and I think for a while I was not willing to learn because I was so desperate of wanting something to work that clearly wasn't working. It was my square peg trying to fit in a round hole.
Yeah.
And I'm over here complaining to God. I'm complaining. It's crazy. Like, why isn't this working?
Yeah.
Why isn't this working? And God was like, I don't know. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it, homegirl.
It's the same thing with me though. Like, I think, you know, I started so young, 10 years old. I mean, I've seen a lot in the last 13 years, but it's things where I look back at this point in my life, and in the moment, I may have been like, fuck, like, this is really shitty. Like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But then I look back now and I'm like, okay, well, now we could do work that could help change these things so people behind us won't have to go through these same things.
Totally.
And I think your path is enabling that for women and men to enter this genre and just be as authentic as they possibly can be.
Yeah.
And that takes courage. And I think I just want to know, like, your mindset at that time to, you know, like, obviously there were circumstances that were just fucking horrible at that label. But making the decision to say, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. We're going to go to Mexico. We're going to figure this out. And like you said, didn't have money, but you did have faith.
Absolutely.
And I think faith will always lead you forward.
Absolutely. 100%. And I think it's so crazy and probably even very cliche for a lot of people to say, God brought me to the light, but he really did. There was a time where I, honest to God, felt like I'm a nuisance. I am worthless. Look at what I've done with myself. Look at what I've done to my poor husband. I brought him to work here. I like dragged him over here, and, you know, all of this went to shit. Like, and this is all my fault. Like, I was like, I'm always kind of my own worst enemy when something goes wrong. I'm like learning now after quite some time in therapy that I also have to like take the backpack off sometimes. Like, it's okay when something goes wrong. Like, you know, something else is going to go right. It's así es esto, un sub y baja de emociones, you know, but at the end of the day, I was like, okay, you know, I either can like continue to dwell and drown in my sorrows, or I can pick myself up and say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Here I am again.
Yeah.
But this time, you know, with an honest smile on my face and, you know, this camino, I guess, that I've paved. And even though it's rocky, it's the one I paved. It's not, you know, paved by anybody else. It's not influenced by anything or anyone else. I'm the master of my life. Finally, I am the captain of
I love that you say that.
Yeah, I'm like, and it was hard. It was hard because there was a long time where I was really, I'm a super big dweller, and I'm not a crier per se. Like, it wasn't like I was like at home crying every day. I'm more like I was like hardcore depressive about it. Like, damn, like this is insane. Like I have no money. Like I have no music to my name. Like I literally have nothing. Like I
no, it's hard.
I was like,
man, but how do you think you overcame?
I think I overcame because it's funny. I'm looking at that sign on your wall, and that's what I did. I bet on myself.
It's important.
Like, okay, I have to bet on myself, because if not, you know, there's no big labels that are going to turn and look at me right now. You know, there's quite a few people that have done a good job of going out there and bad-mouthing about me to half this industry.
Yeah.
Like, some people might believe it, some people might not, but that's none of my business. All I can do is kick ass for me.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we started doing. You know, starting the label was super difficult. We ended up getting a deal with a refreshment brand that actually helped me get off my feet. I sold my car here in the States. Then I ended up getting another brand deal that actually helped fund my single as an independent artist, my first video as an independent artist, my promo throughout, you know, Mexico as an independent artist. And then things just started to like fall into place. After that, I started getting calls from different networks out there. And it's crazy because that was initially my, I guess, plan, like to start paving a way in Mexico. And I knew it was going to be very difficult, but crazy enough, I was like, man, I did it when I was in LA. You know, it was hard. I didn't know anybody. We didn't have jobs. Like the same exact thing that happened to me when I went to LA 7 years prior happened when I went to Mexico. But we were able to flourish, you know, and years later now, I mean, my husband's divided. Now I share him with Plebes del Rancho and Cristian Odal, you know, but I'm happy. I'm so happy. Now I'm like, man, my husband
we love
works.
JP. What a great guy.
Yeah, he's worked his ass off. My husband is honestly not for nothing, you know, but honest to God, as a person, as a human being, he deserves this. He deserves this because he has rode through thick and thin with me, like literally, like through the trenches. This man has never said, you know, I sayonara, bitch, this is too much. Like, he, honest to God, I'm like, there was a point where I was like, damn, he's low-key gonna be like, this is insane. Like, I can't do this anymore. But he's always held my hand through everything. And, you know, he's been he's definitely been my light at the end of the tunnel. He's the one holding the candle.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's actually so beautiful. We love JP. JP's such a good guy. Yeah. I'm curious, like, when you look back at your journey and everything that you've went through that has led you here, how do you feel when you look back?
I feel like I wouldn't change anything because I would have stayed the same. I would have been a completely different person right now, and not in a good way. I would have been that faux singer on a stage singing songs that you don't like, singing songs that you think you have to sing because it's what's going to make you successful. I would have been surrounded by people that were not my people, that had my best interest as an artist, but not as a person. And unfortunately, I would have still been a product. And right now, I'm my own boss.
How cool is that?
We're our own boss.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's I shouldn't say sometimes. It's hard all the time.
It's very hard.
It's very hard.
I mean, the truth is, like, I mean, I I'll be the first one to tell you, like, this is a difficult industry, period. Like, anything that you're trying to do is very difficult. And I think even for me, like, I started off so young at 10 years old, and the dream has never changed.
No.
And it's like one of those things where when you're constantly like told what you should be or how you should do something or why you can't do it or like all these different things, like I just got to a point when I was like 20 and I was like, you know what, like fuck all of these people. Like I don't need them.
Yeah.
And then obviously like, yeah, you might not know where you're going. I quit iHeartRadio at 19, not knowing where I was going to go. And it's like one of those things where, yeah, you could have fear, but I knew ultimately if I remained authentic to myself, I would be led to where I needed to get to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that path, I mean, yeah, rocky path, but I look back very grateful for that path.
Absolutely. Yeah. Amen.
No, yeah, it's difficult.
That's exactly what happened to me, you know. I was a little bit older. I was a little bit older, but it's exactly what happened to me, you know. And I think at some point I just like, there was a time where I just felt like, I don't know if this gets better because I don't know if there's many honest people left in the industry. But then you find your people and you're like, okay. Yeah. Like it does get better.
When did that shift kind of like happen for you?
I think it was definitely 2019 when I had this is easily the best PR team. You know, JP and I were already managing everything in the label. And I think we had already started to establish, I guess, like a concrete fan base in Mexico. And we still have a lot of people that follow us here, like in the States, you know. And I think that's when we kind of realized, like, okay, like we can absolutely do this. Like there is faith in, you know, humanity within the industry because we started like being surrounded by good people, genuine people. And we obviously started to realize too, even being out there, okay, you know, there's a couple shitty ones too. You know, we know who to stay away from. And I think that's when it was kind of like, okay, now we're practicing something that we never practiced before, discernment, you know? Yeah. So wow. we were absolutely not practicing that before at all. Like we would let everybody in por igual, you know, and now I'm like, I've become a lot more awake in that sense where I'm just kind of, I think I had told you previously, I always know how it's going to go with somebody depending on how they say hello. It's so nuts, but it's like, that's true. I'm never wrong on this, guys. I swear to you, I'm never wrong.
Isn't it funny? Like, I feel like industry people, like higher up people, it's like they're all carbon copies of each other.
Absolutely.
Like the way that they like approach people and the way that they talk to people. And it's like when you walk up and you talk to them and you're different, oh, you got an X on your back. Like you're weird and this is not what the industry should turn into.
No.
Like,
and a lot of them have been there in that position for years. So they're stuck in their ways. They're stuck on their high horse, I guess. And, you know, music is changing constantly, like to a point where, you know, you're like expected to put out music every 2 weeks. And if you're an independent artist, that's a hard thing to do.
No, I mean, I'm glad that you bring that up because truthfully, I was curious, like as an artist, I mean, we live in such a fast paced world where people want music, like you said, every week they want new things. But as an artist, like quality over quantity.
Absolutely. Big time.
Right? Like how do you approach these changes industry wise?
I think with me and JP, we realized we have to be smart with our investments. Like I think if you put out a really, really good song, it should last at least 4 weeks, at least a month. Now it's like you're expected to put one out every week almost, you know? And he's seeing it because he's working at a separate label besides ours. And he's like, man, everything is just so constant now. They're like, oh, this is great. How soon can you have the next one? Like even the digital platforms are kind of exuding this new way of life. And if you're an independent artist, you know, maybe you worked really hard and you put your coins together to put out that great song. And, you know, you don't have the money to put out another one in another week. You know, maybe you have to build it and wait another 3 weeks, you know, and I think that that's something that definitely should be looked at as for what it is. You know, I put out this great song. I worked hard on this great song. And, you know, we have to stop frowning, you know, down on them or, you know, because that's what the industry does sometimes. Like, oh, you're not consistent. What the hell do you mean? I just put out a song last month. Like,
and then it's like, if you're starting to put out music weekly, then you're kind of like not putting out the best of like work.
Exactly.
You're rushing through the process.
You're rushing through the process because that's what they're telling you that you have to do. But I feel like, we went and we put a break big time on that. And we're kind of just, okay, we're picking songs. We're being very selective. We're actually like making sure that it fits, you know,
Has
what
it
we're
always
true to.
been easy for you to kind of like trust your instinct in that way?
Honestly, it has. But I've also been really good at ignoring it, which is that's always kind of been my biggest setback. Yeah. I always ignore it. I always know
that's
like
super interesting.
This doesn't feel right. But I'm just gonna go with it. And then I'm like, fuck, I already knew this wasn't gonna go right, you know. And so I think sometimes I doubt myself, you know, in certain things, like little things like that. And then I'm kind of like, okay, like I have to learn to practice discernment. I have to be a lot more selective with what I don't do, what I put out and what I don't put out, you know. And I think ultimately, like lately, we ended up I did a collab with a few girls for like an in vivo.
So badass.
It was so
badass.
Somebody asked me if we were really drinking on the job. I'm like, absolutely.
Duh.
I'm like, you don't drink water? I'm like, you don't take water shots? I'm like, who does that?
No.
So we absolutely did, you know.
I'm glad you guys are doing that though. It's so major. And I think, again, we were talking about this before, but the more that you guys do this, the more girls are going to feel comfortable to do this themselves.
Absolutely. And I feel like the mentality, you know, I don't know what girls still have it, you know, if it's still like in their brain wandering somewhere, but you know, we're not each other's competition. We don't have to be, to be honest. We don't really have to be each other's competition. That ideology is dead. That's dumb.
So crazy. Yeah. Like there's a room literally, like there's room at the table for every single person.
Absolutely. And not just that, I think like it's okay to have different colored crayons in the box.
No,
like there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like once we came together, we realized our personalities, the four of us, are very different. Like
the differences, I think, is also what makes the genre what it is.
Absolutely.
If your genre is just full of the same artists.
Imagine what it would be.
What evolution is that?
If we had 12 Peso Plumas, if we had 12 Karin Leons, you know, 12, you know, Jelly Riveras, you know, it would be very boring. It's amazing how we have so much diversity and everybody kind of does their own thing. And I feel like within us, I'm seeing that a little bit more and it makes me happy because this is how it should be.
Yeah. And I mean, I see that you do that too. And I think it's a beautiful thing just because, again, like I feel like you're not necessarily like too worried about taking risks.
Yeah, not at all. I think especially now, you know, I'm at a point, I think, where I just don't care what anybody says. I really don't care. I'm like, I spent so much time, not even me personally worrying about those things, more like, you know, the team I had worrying about those things. Oh, people are not going to like that. Oh, they're going to say this. They're going to say that. What are people going to say? I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I just don't care anymore what anybody says. Like I've gotten to a point, I think, where I no me quiero quedar con las ganas. I don't want to die one day. And then, you know, I died not producing an idea.
Imagine being on your deathbed and you're just thinking about, shit, I should have done that.
I should have done that.
I think about that all the time.
Like, no.
I literally think about that all the time. And
like,
I think
dude,
at this point in my life, like I'm at that stage where I'm kind of like willing to put myself in like uncomfortable situations because growing up, I would never do that. And the truth is, that's where the growth comes in.
Yeah.
The growth comes in when you put yourself in those situations.
When you're uncomfortable. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, I think when we first went to Mexico, that absolutely happened. We were very uncomfortable. We were not in our space.
Yeah.
My dad has a home in Guadalajara. That's where we stayed the first couple years.
Yeah.
And it was tough. You know, it was tough. It's not our space. It's not my house. It's my dad's house, you know, and it's not I guess, the ideal situation for us to be in at the time, but it was what fit our life in that moment. You know, we didn't have money to get a house, you know, to rent an apartment. Like it was tough. It was either we do that or I put out music, you know, so we chose music. And that's another thing. Like I said, like I'm very fortunate that JP was, you know, very much, I believe in you. I believe in your dream because it's my dream too.
That's
so let's
beautiful.
do it. Let's do this. And that's kind of what we navigated at first. You know, now we have our home in Tu Casa in Guadalajara, you know, and it was tough. You know, it was very tough, but slowly but surely we started building, I guess, like our small family. It's just me, him, and my dog. And hopefully, you know, in the coming year, it's me, him, the dog, and a baby, you know, but
God willing,
you know, God first, you know, but I'm definitely, I guess, just doing what I want to do, what I love, which I think I couldn't say that before.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a testament to you, but you've managed to kind of like walk through this industry remaining authentically you. And I think even now, like, it's just more evident, like you're authentically you. You're authentically Helen Ochoa.
I think it took a very long time.
Yeah.
For me to do that. I moved to LA in 2011. And it wasn't until 2018 that I moved to Mexico. I think once we were sitting in my dad's living room and I was like, man, this is insane. This is exactly what happened when JP and I moved out of Fresno to LA. We had nothing. We had no idea what we were going to do. We had no idea how we were going to make it. But we're going to do it because
we'll find a way. We're
going to find a way because God has always shone a light, I guess, on us in times of trials and tribulations. I'm like, this is not going to be any different, you know? And the first thing I thought sitting on that couch was, I have to be unapologetically myself. Like,
absolutely.
There's no one telling me anymore that I can't post that. There's no one telling me I can't say this in an interview. There's nobody to tell me that I can't wear that or I can't sing that or I can't be friends with this person or I can't go there, you know, and I can't do that. Like, there's nobody holding us back anymore. Now it's 100% up to us. And I think once we did that, you know, people were kind of like, okay, I'm listening. You know, and I think that's something that I will forever be thankful to God too, that he put me through hard times.
Yeah. Helen, how would you describe your musical evolution?
I think it slowly became the real Helen, honestly. Because I think from Si Yo Fuera un Chico, that was me. That was, I loved that song. And it's crazy because I didn't necessarily choose it for myself. Somebody else chose it for me. And he told me, I think this is a great song. And I think it would be kick-ass in Banda. And I think you can sing that a lot of it. What do you think? I'm like, absolutely. I freaking love Beyonce.
And the fact, like, somebody having faith so early on, I mean, it must have meant so much to you.
Absolutely. I was like, oh, man, like, this is... Okay, I'm like, I'm going to rehearse the shit out of this song. I'm going to make sure it's immaculate. You know, we went in the studio and I did 3 takes. I sang the song the whole way through. And, you know, Pepe Garza was actually there at the studio with me. And he's like...
He's such a king.
He is. He's
that guy, man. What a guy.
He actually supported me from, like, day one. And he's like, you know, I told him, you know, I'm hoping it sounds good. You know, I practiced all week. He's like, I could tell. And I'm telling you now, it sounds amazing. He's like, I think we should do one more take and then we'll split it. Like, if we need little takes from here, there. So I did that last 3rd take. And then Maurilio Pineda was actually the producer of that song. And he said, Helen, I think that 3rd take was it. I think the whole take was it. Like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, yeah. And so we looked over, cool. We heard every piece. He's like, okay, in this part, I'm just gonna adjust. You were a teeny bit flat. On this part, you were a little sharp. He's like, the rest is good the way it is.
That's so cool.
It was amazing. But I honestly, literally killed myself rehearsing that song to ensure that we would have that kind of outcome. But nonetheless, you know, I think it was because I was also passionate about that song. Like, this is exactly the style that I want to do. But they cut my style after that song.
Why do you think they did that?
I think it's because it's too new.
Right?
It's too new. People are not going to get this. People are not going to understand it. They're not going to go for it. This isn't what's trending. And I've learned now, it doesn't fucking matter what's trending.
It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what's trending. At the end of the day, you kind of got to do what you want to do, you know? And I think lately on TikTok, and it's crazy because I haven't done it in a while, but I'll do karaoke's every now and then. I just sit my ass in my living room. I'll turn it on the TV and I'll record it on my phone and then I post it. And it's insane how much in the comments I'm getting like, Ana Gabriel, do Rocío Dúrcal, do Chaito Valdez, do some Jenny, you know, and I'm getting all of these artists, you know, from like some of the younger generation. So I feel like that just shows me how much music, good music, really does transcend. And it doesn't matter what's trending or not. When you put out a good song, it's a good song, period. And it took me a long time to understand that, because what was instilled in my head was
you got to please people.
You have to always please the big man on top.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I was listening to an interview and somebody had mentioned that when you start to like create something to try to like get people to like you or try to please people, it's never going to work.
Absolutely not.
The only person that you should be trying to please through the music is yourself.
Absolutely. And you know, I was it a couple years ago, I went to a concert. I had just started listening to this artist a few months before I went to his concert, but I only knew maybe like 4 or 5 songs. Not necessarily enough to like go to a concert and you know, because I'm like, I only know 4 songs, and of those songs, 2 of them I only know like thoroughly, like, you know, but I was like, okay, one of my friends was working for him. His name was Fetta. So I went to this guy's show, and I swear to you, that has to be one of the most immaculate concerts I've ever been to. You don't have to know the entirety of his catalog in order to enjoy his show, because it was like a freaking movie, like a Spanish movie.
An experience.
It really was an experience. And, you know, I found out that this guy said no to Coachella because they couldn't stage this thing exactly how he had his tour. And he's like, I'm not going to be able to give people the experience that they're expecting from me if you don't stage those screens the way I need them to be in order for them to understand what the show is.
That's major.
And he said no. They offered him double the money. And he said, no, this isn't about the money. This is about the fact that people need to go home probably the same way I went home that day. I was like, I was floored. He's so freaking talented, but beyond that, he's such a creative. And you know, it's crazy because I got to say hi to him after, and he was sweet, but very short. Like, he was kind of, I mean, short in his words, right? By the way, I mean, short in his words. Like, he was sweet, but he was very like short. Like, he was just kind of like, oh, he's like, did you guys enjoy the show? I'm like, I absolutely loved it. Like, you know, thank you for the invite. This was amazing. He's like, oh yeah. Thank you guys for coming. I was like, yeah. And I was like, man, I'm like, it was freaking awesome. And he's like, oh, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
I'm glad, you know, this is kind of what we want people to feel. And like, I understood it. I get it, you know? And after that, I was like, man, this is exactly, I think, what all of us aspire to be. Creatives that make somebody feel something. Because he definitely, he touched me.
It's the most important part.
It was amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And then I think after that, I kind of understood like music from a different perspective too. It's like, it's not just about doing something that you love. It's about doing something that makes others feel something, that makes others feel the love that you put into that song or the heartbreak that you put into that song. Like, I sing songs from Julián sometimes that, you know, are heartbreak songs, and I'm like, hot damn, you know, this song is amazing, but I'm happily married.
Right.
You know? But
it's great how music could do
something.
that. Yeah, that music does that to you.
It transcends.
Yeah, it does transcend.
Yeah.
I'm curious, at this stage in your life, and then compared to like when you first started, now that you're also behind the scenes, do you feel that you're more fulfilled now than you were just as an artist?
Absolutely. In every aspect, but I think as an artist, especially because I didn't have, it's so ironic to say this, but I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice, and I do now. And I'm so glad that a lot more people are listening to that voice than they did back then. And I don't blame them back then, because back then I wasn't myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I think even if I wanted to be, I couldn't, and they would have never continued, I guess, to follow me. Like, and I don't mean Instagram. I don't mean, like, what I mean is follow me, follow what I'm doing.
Can I ask you this, just as an artist, like, is that like a constant fear amongst artists? Like, maybe if I put out this song, they won't fuck with me anymore?
I think absolutely. You're always in fear of, it's kind of like politics, you know, in terms of somebody might be against it, you know, and I think at the end of the day, I would say to anybody listening, I know what it feels like. And I can tell you, sometimes when you do things with fear, I mean, you might get an amazing result. You know, this is a dog-eat-dog business, but it shouldn't be like that in terms of the musical part. And sometimes we can do that to ourselves, because unfortunately we live with this narrative of how things have to be, but they don't have to be anything but what you want them to be. So I think once you understand that, then you kind of realize, you know, okay, you know, this that I'm doing, it's okay, you know, and if it's not okay, that's okay too. Like, at least, you know, I'm putting out there what I personally want to put out there. And I think that's priceless.
Very priceless. I mean, I think you went to a very special dinner with a very special person before she passed. And I heard that she gave you some advice.
She did.
That you still think about to this day.
Abso-fucking-toodalutely. Oh my God.
I would love for you just to tell that story, just because I feel like that story can help people.
It was nuts. Okay, so it was Jenny Rivera. We had just gone to, I forget what club it was. Was it the Avalon or the Roxy? I'm not sure. I can't remember the actual place, but the point is, we had a lot of mutual friends. I'd already kind of, I guess, like, been around her at events, but I'm like the biggest, even though I'm so outspoken and I'm loud and I'm crazy, when it comes to other artists, I've always been I'm poker face. I don't like to bother people. Very seldomly will I ask anybody for a picture. Like, I'm very much that person that just lets people be in their element. But, you know, with her, it was, you know, it's Jenny, like, holy moly. But, you know, we got to come backstage and say hi to her. My husband was with me. Japes is always with me, guys. So the point is that, you know, we go back there and one of the girls is like, hey, Jenny, this is Helen. Pardon. And she says, hi, mamas, how are you? I was like, oh my God, she called me mamas. I was like, hi. And then all the girls were like, oh, you know, just kind of talking. She gave everybody a little drink. And then she's like, hey, you know, it's so-and-so's birthday, and so-and-so's birthday is coming up, and so-and-so's birthday passed. We should just all go to dinner. We should go to Lola's. I'm like, oh my God, I fucking love that restaurant. I was like, damn, I love it. And she's like, we should just all go. Like, so I could celebrate everybody's birthday at once, because she was going to be traveling, obviously. So we all end up going to this restaurant. She sits like this right across from me. I'm like, holy moly, I am having dinner with Jenny Rivera. This is insane. So, you know, we're all just kind of chit-chatting. And I think for me, that was the best 2 hours of my life. Like, it was just amazing. We were just talking crap, you know, pure girl talk and just a gay old time. Point is, we were leaving and, you know, she says, oh, so you're a singer, huh? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, I'm going to give you some advice, even though you didn't ask for it. I was like, okay. She said, you want to kick ass in this business? You better work. Period, point blank. You want to make it, you need to work.
Yeah.
There's no other way. Understand? I'm like, absolutely. She said, okay. And then she tells my husband, you take a good look at this ass. This is the last time you're going to see this ass. She walks away, and I shit you not, it was like a movie. The car was waiting for her. She walks away to get in the car, and she's in between the two lights. I swear to you, all we see is this woman's hot silhouette walking back to the car, I will never forget it. It was insane. This is right after like
idol, like
absolutely
crazy.
This is, I think, forever gonna be embedded in my head, and it's so crazy because, like I said, I'm the kind of person that never likes to bother people for pictures. So I didn't ask her for a picture. I'm like, I'm gonna see her again at another event. I don't want to bother her. She's with like people she trusts, you know, friends. I was just basking in the ambiance, and it was the last time I saw her. It was the last time I saw her. So after that, the inevitable happened. But you know, it's
at least you got to meet her and get that advice, and now that advice is going to help somebody else, which is super cool. And we'll wrap it up real quick. Helen, what do you think the greatest lesson that your career has taught you is?
Ooh. I think the greatest lesson I've learned is definitely that no one is you, and that is your power. And I think that's said so lightly sometimes, but I honestly, it took me a long time to understand I'm a good person. I'm a talented person. I've gone through hell and back. I'm still alive and breathing. But above all, I haven't lost my spark. I haven't lost my will to continue to make music, despite all the bullshit. We already know that's part of it. And it's because of that saying. And I think once I really understood what that meant, I realized I have a lot of power in just choosing myself. And after I started to choose myself, things started to change.
That's beautiful.
Choose yourself. Choose yourself always. I think you'll be amazed at what you're able to accomplish once you do.
That's beautifully said, and from a beautiful person. Like, I'm just so honored to just have this time with you and just sit down, just to be able to like talk like this. And I'm just so blown away by the person that you are and everything that you've been through and got through, and look how you came out better.
You también. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of this. This is amazing. This is immaculate.
That's crazy. That really means a lot. Seriously. Like, I mean, just we're going to keep on doing this.
Absolutely.
Keep on trucking.
Kicking ass.
No, literally. Miss Helen, where can people find you?
Helen _ Ochoa. I'm on Instagram. I'm a little nuts, guys. You're going to have fun with me.
It's a good follow.
If you follow me on TikTok, be advised, a lot of that is comedy.
It's so much fun. I love your Instagram. It's so much
fun. Like, it's TikTok. I love it.
Are there any projects you're working on that you want to talk about?
I'm going to be working on an album pretty soon with a friend. Her name is Celi. She's Puerto Rican, but she kind of seems like tumbado, kind of like rap-ish, which is kind of cool, and I love. So we're going to be recording that pretty soon. I'm doing De Parranda con Mis Amigas Part 2 pretty soon as well. And just new music from myself. There's a really cool song that I wrote that I'm still kind of like iffy on the title, but nonetheless, like, it's a really good song. It's stemming from, my experiences. And I think, just the biggest, I guess, how do I name this? The biggest project that I've ever worked on in my life that's coming too, which is motherhood. God willing. Let's do this. It's scary, but you got this. It's a journey.
No, you two are literally about to make such beautiful parents.
You're sweet.
I love you too. Like, you and JP, literally, like,
you rock my socks.
No, literally. Thank you. Same. No, seriously, thank you everybody for listening and watching another episode of One on One. My name is Andro Mammo. Thank you, Miss Helen, for being here.
Thank you, Papito.
We'll see you guys soon. Take care.